Hello, friends and neighbors.
What? Just smiling.
I'm fucking laughing.
No.
Then you're gonna spit all over the camera. I'm joined by Mrs. Britain Progress.
I thought he was never going to introduce me for a minute there. We go on for a 20-minute rant. Tell you who I was.
This is just my house witch. Yeah, no, so this is Mrs. Britain Progress.
Hello.
Also known as Brit.
So,
Because you're not in progress.
because I'm a Brit. Oh right, yeah, no, I'm not in progress at all.
Yeah.
Fully established.
Britfully, yeah, there we go. Britfully Established. That's what I'm going to refer to you as from now on. So, yeah, we're just going to have a little chat about a couple of things. I think a good place to start is how I got here.
Yeah.
So,
How did you get here?
I got here via years of trying
Yes.
and many thousands of dollars is how I got here.
Yes.
The immigration process was difficult,
A nightmare.
to be nice. It was like it's very clear to me now, having gone through that process, that at least your country and probably mine, because we did briefly entertain the idea of you coming to the U.S.
Yeah.
have designed their immigration processes purposefully to mislead people and lead to failures in applications.
Yeah, and to gain money, frankly.
And to gain money, yes. It is so exorbitantly expensive.
Oddly, I feel like it's less so to gain money in America than it is in England, because it's just extraordinary how much money you have to spend
Yeah.
to move someone over here as a spouse.
Yeah, as a spouse. So
I
we
don't-
were
I
already
don't know
married.
about, you know.
When we started that process, we had already been married. So all the people who were like, "Oh, you were married, you should be able to just go wherever you want." No, it doesn't work like that.
There were so
And-
many people who just said, "Oh, shit, but you're married. Surely you can
Yeah,
just go."
there's it's going to be a whole video talking about the whole how little countries care about you being married when it comes to immigration. They just do not care. It's rather ridiculous, and all you people that were like, "Oh, you're married, you should be able to," stop it. Don't say that to me ever again.
Don't say that to anyone.
Don't
who's
say it to
doing this.
anyone,
Yeah.
because it's patronizing.
And
at best.
upsetting, quite frankly.
Yeah. Then there's the whole, I brought my cat with me because I couldn't leave my kitty cat because I didn't know, she's my kitty. Couldn't leave her back home. She's over there by the balcony licking herself, as cats do.
She knows we're talking about her as
She
well.
does. She just stared at us when, yeah. So that was the whole bringing a pet thing was, again, so ridiculously misleading.
Yeah, it was an added layer of complexity after we'd already gone past the actual visa bit.
Yeah.
It was the added layer of, oh, we now need to get a cat over as well.
Yeah, but what I mean though is there's so many like predatory like organizations, or at least I felt that they were predatory organizations, that, you know, you can pay to deal with the whole process of, you know, importing your pet to other countries that are just, quite frankly, scams.
Yeah,
At least
I
they
mean,
felt like scams.
the amount they charge, you gotta hope it's a scam almost, because it's extraordinary.
I mean, I guess the convenience of having them deal with like the vet visits and the paperwork and dealing with the USDA, which, by the way, if you want to take your pet to another country, you're going to be dealing with the USDA. That's the company that, you know, regulates, or not company, but that's the department of the US government that regulates like meat and stuff, like agriculture. So pets are considered agricultural products, which I didn't know.
Seems like the least agricultural pet of all time.
Yeah, it's a strange place to put that, you know, the dealing with pets organization, the USDA.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was expensive, and the information that they give you about how you're supposed to bring the pet over, and like specifically about what you're supposed to actually transport your pet in, like the carrier that you're supposed to use, the information is so misleading and disjointed and unorganized that, like, I kid you not, like, I had everything set up for my cat. I had, like, her carrier, I had, like, a little water thing, and I showed up at the cargo terminal at the airport, which is another thing. Cargo terminals at airports are weird. And I showed up at the cargo terminal, and they were like, oh no, everything here is wrong.
But you were very lucky.
Yeah, I was super lucky, because I guess this happens with stunning amounts of like, just consistently. Regularity, thank you. Just stunning regularity that the people there happen to just have laying around collecting dust, like a stack of the proper carriers and, like, other things. And they were like, yeah, here, just take it, it's fine.
I mean, it's possible there are some people who came over and left the carrier there because it was too bulky to be messing with, maybe, I don't know.
But the point is like, the people that I dealt with were extraordinarily nice. Out of the Orlando airport, I think it's A1A shipping or something like that, A11, A1A, I'll look it up and I'll put it in the video description. They were great. They were wonderful.
The airline was very helpful as well, I think.
Yeah, it's the airline, the shipping company that goes through the shipping is like a subcontractor.
Yeah.
For the airline. It's not the actual airline.
Okay. Well, whoever we contacted at the airline, he was great.
Yeah.
That one person.
Yeah, no, it was great. He was wonderful. And because it wasn't just the one time that I contacted that guy either. Like, you
were harassing him for weeks.
I was, and he was great. He was wonderful. I wish I could remember his name. But he was great. Again, my whole experience, I think it's A1A shipping out of Orlando, was great. But getting to the point of being able to bring the cat over and having to navigate through all the conflicting information was a nightmare.
Yeah, because the only alternative to doing all of the stuff correctly, if you didn't do all of the stuff correctly, then she would have ended up in
government quarantine. For 3 months.
And you have to pay
at a rate of £200 a week.
Yes. So we wouldn't have been able to afford that, basically. It's the general
At least
thing.
I believe it was £200 a week.
I think it was 250 is what I thought.
Okay, but it was a week.
Yeah, it was a week, yeah.
Yeah. So for you Americans, that's like $300+ a week for 3 months. Which is crazy. But thankfully, through some stroke of luck, I did the paperwork right the first time. And we did have a little scare when we got over here.
Yeah.
Because there's a very small staff that deals with pets at the Manchester airport where I flew in. And they were off at another terminal dealing with racehorses or something. So there was nobody there. Oh,
yeah. No, well, when you say we had a panic, I think what you mean is you were panicking because you're like, when will I see my cat? Because I'm not questioning the validity of your panic. But I knew that it was going to be a while us just sitting there waiting, but I think you weren't expecting to wait.
I also really needed to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, good point.
And there was no bathroom in the general vicinity.
Probably should have just gone to the bathroom before we went there, really.
Yeah, probably. But I didn't think... Because, again, it's dealing with cargo terminals at airports, and when does a normal person ever deal with a cargo terminal at an airport?
When they bring in a cat, apparently.
Yeah, when you bring in animals. Because animals... So when you fly internationally, I think this is going to be the last thing on the immigration with a pet thing. When you fly internationally, or at least this was my experience, I don't know if this is the general gist of things, you can't bring your pet with you in the cabin of the airplane. There were a lot of people, when I was looking to do this, they're like, oh, you can just bring your cat with you. No, you can't. You're not allowed to do that on international flights. On international flights, pets have to be shipped as cargo. Yeah. So they're going to be under the plane, which is perfectly safe, by the way. There's a lot of misinformation about like the area that they ship pets in. It's perfectly safe. The animals are well looked after.
And they're checked up on as well.
Yeah,
which I think a lot of people don't really realise that they do go down and check up on the animals.
Yeah, like I mentioned to one of the flight attendants on the plane that my cat was underneath, and they were like, "Oh, what did they look like?" And they went and checked on her for me. So
yeah,
it's perfectly safe. I'm sure there are accidents that happen, but it's the same gamble that you take when you decide to you yourself get on an airplane.
Yeah.
and they also, again, I don't know if this was a thing for just me or if this is an industry thing, is they don't want to take pets on international flights that have connecting flights. They, like I was told, and again, this is just what I was told. I don't know if it's the thing, but they told me that if I wanted to bring my pet, it had to be on a direct flight. You don't necessarily have to be on the same flight, but it has to be a direct flight.
I suspect it's because they don't want that they can't guarantee that the other company is going to take on. Usually, because the connected flights usually two different companies or a section of that company.
Yeah.
So I suspect it's because they can't guarantee the next flight's going to take them on, and they don't want to risk having to deal with the cat in interim, basically. I'd assume that would be my guess is why they don't want to do that. Yeah.
So, when I moved over here, there's all kinds of... I'll probably do a video talking about money and bank accounts and the nightmare that I had trying to deal with... Ooh, and that sound means it's time to take a drink.
We should get shotting liquid to deal with this,
Probably. So yeah, getting a bank account over here is not easy. So, I mean, I don't know if it's changed since I left the U.S. or since I got my... Oops, kick the camera. Since I got my last bank account in the U.S. But, like, I got it online. I set it up online. You needed, like, your name and an address and a social security number. I don't even think you needed the address. But it's so easy to set up a bank account in the U.S. Over here, my friends, it is not easy. Setting up a bank account was like a whole ordeal. Like we had to make multiple appointments with the bank. I think we had to go twice. And
well, we only made one appointment. It's just that the first time we nipped in, and they were like, "Oh no, you need an appointment."
Oh, I thought. Oh, okay.
No,
so,
we only had
no, you're right. So, we thought we could just walk into a bank and get a bank account, like you can, or at least I thought that, like you can in the U.S. You can either set it up online or you can walk into the local branch or whatever bank you want, and within 15 minutes, have a bank account and a temporary bank card, and walk out. They also don't do temporary bank cards here. I don't think. No. So if you lose your bank account, or if you lose your bank card, you're going to be waiting for a while. And the way that they do bank cards over here is very nice security-wise, but very inconvenient.
Yes.
So they want like a whole bunch of information from you when you go to set up a bank account. In my case, they wanted, my name, my address, and I think they wanted two or three proofs of address. They wanted, and they wanted my national insurance number, which is the vague sort of equivalent of a social security number, and they wanted like proof of all of it. And thankfully, and I maintain that I was right to do this. They also wanted my actually, I think this was you that didn't you already have the appointment for the national insurance number set up before I got here?
I called them very early on when you got here, basically, as well.
Yeah, so I had all that sorted out.
I talked to a very nice Scouse man in the national insurance area. He was very friendly and also allayed many of my fears about setting up an appointment for someone else. He was like, "No, it's fine. Go ahead."
Yeah, no. So that was all good. So it's a whole drawn out process to get a bank account, and then when they do finally approve you and you have your bank account set up, then there's getting your bank card. Because like I said, in the U.S., when you set up a bank account and you leave, they'll give you a temporary bank card to use as you're leaving the bank. So to hold you over until your normal card arrives. Not so in the UK. In the UK, you get sent 2 letters. One letter contains your bank card, which is nice, and another letter, they send you this separately, contains a PIN number for that bank card that has like a little like a little holographic code ready type thing going on with it. And that was so on the subject of the PIN numbers, you can't reset the PIN numbers. You can't reset it yourself. So if you want to reset your bank card's PIN number, you have to let the bank know, and they will send you a new letter with a new PIN on it. You don't get to choose. They choose it for you, and you have to memorize it. And if you lose it, it's a whole big thing. It's very secure, but it's so inconvenient because what'll happen, and I think this happened to me, is you get the card in the mail, and then it's like 2 or 3 days later sometimes that you get the PIN that you need to use the damn thing. So, very, very secure, but very inconvenient.
I mean, I'd say that was a fair dichotomy between the UK and the US anyway, in a lot of ways. A lot of stuff in the US is set up for convenience, and in the UK a lot of stuff is set up for safety's sake.
You guys are health and safety
conscious. But I mean, I'd say one of the things that freaked me out about banking in the US, just to add an aside to that, is the use of checks. Like, people still use checks in the US. Like, for our wedding, we got a load of checks from people.
Oh,
which was very nice, but I found it so strange. I don't think I mentioned this at the time to you either.
No, you didn't.
That we had a load of checks. I was like, I've never seen more than one check in my life.
Well, I think it's because, like, over here, everybody is super quick to do bank transfers. Like
online.
Well, I just mean, like, so, like, when you go out to the pub with a group of people, and, like, you know, somebody buys a round or whatever, or, like, I've seen it happen that people are super quick to be like, oh, okay, well, that's fine, I'll pick this up, just, you know, here's my info, do a bank transfer real quick. And in America, at least in my experience, that does not happen. Everyone is super, like, will get super offended if you ask them for their bank account info for something like that. It's a, like, I guess it's a perceived security thing, like giving that information out to someone. Everyone gets it. It's not a thing.
But it doesn't make any difference though. Like, I mean, that's not an access to your bank account. It's an access to.
That's why I said perceived security risk.
It's very strange. But in the UK, for gifts, people just give cash rather than checks.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know. It's weird.
It's just strange. That's just something that I noticed and found strange. That and the drive-through banks. That was another thing that I was like, what is this?
Are there not drive-through banks over here?
We don't have drive-through anything over here.
I've never noticed this.
Only barely got drive-through food. Never mind drive-through banks and pharmacies and stuff like that.
I've never noticed this.
No, we don't have drive-through.
But now that you're saying it, I don't recall ever seeing one. So that's interesting.
No, they don't exist.
Cost of living. This video's dragging on a little bit. It's fine. I'll just edit you out. Although
you better not.
Although a lot of that is, there's a couple minutes of that is us fapping about. So, cost of living over here. So, I don't know how exactly. I don't remember how exactly this came about, but there was a lot of fear from a lot of people, like in my sort of group of family and friends back home, that seemed to think it was really expensive to live over here. And I don't know. I guess it's the perception of it being a foreign country or something.
Well, I think people do perceive England a bit like the same way they perceive Japan, in that they think it's expensive.
Yeah, but they're probably also thinking about London and Tokyo.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely they are.
So, we live in the north of England, and it's the most affordable place I've ever lived in, and I'm making the least amount of money with, adjusting income and that I've made in my professional career. Of course, now present time excluded, because I haven't been working since March. Yay! Pandemic. Yeah, so no, the cost of living actually over here is pretty decent. It falls pretty in line with what I feel the average person makes over here.
Yeah.
Again, there's high and low spikes in that. People who are, but like for an average couple, which I think we are with no kids, apart from the cat, uh, I think that the cost of living is actually in line where it should be. Housing's not super expensive over here. At least that
In the north.
at least in the north that I've seen pre-pandemic. I don't know what's going to happen because I was just reading today actually that one of the things that are allowed to happen now are like real estate agents and house viewings are allowed now.
Oh really?
Yeah, that just happened this week. And there's been a giant boom in people looking for housing since then. Like, I think Rightmove said that their thing is up like 70%.
I mean, to be fair, that might just be people browsing because they're bored.
Yeah, but like it's a sharp spike in like 3 days since the announcement.
Okay.
So I think it is actually people looking to move, which might end up doing the opposite of what I thought was going to happen with housing. Was be that prices would fall, but it seems like that might not be what happens.
Maybe that's why so many people are looking because they thought prices would fall.
Yeah, maybe. So it's actually renting isn't actually all that expensive over here, and it's a lot easier, I think, to find a reasonably affordable place in an area that you don't have to be afraid of walking outside in at night in. Which is kind of the problem that I have with South Florida and some of the other places I've lived is anywhere that you want to live that you don't have to be afraid of being outside at night is also too expensive. So we have a pretty nice flat and a pretty nice building and a pretty nice area. And
we have like a concierge, which I consider quite fancy.
Yeah, we have a concierge team.
Yeah, team. Yeah.
And it's perfectly affordable on our two salaries. And this is expensive. Like the place that we're at is expensive for the area, and we're fine.
Yeah.
Housing is so much cheaper over here than South Florida and some of the other places I've lived. It's great.
It's an interesting thing to mention as well is I remember when we were thinking about moving.
That's going to be another video.
But you can mention it briefly. I remember. I'll mention it.
The moving processes for America and here are very different.
Well, because for example, when we were first talking about moving into a new place, we were having a cocktail somewhere, if I recall correctly, and you were like, "No, we need to save this much money. We need at least, I don't know, it was like $2,000 or something." I was like, "Why would we need $2,000?" And you were like, "We need to be able to afford to move in." I was like, "We don't need $2,000 to afford." To
and that's where we're gonna stop.
Okay.
There's also the cost of food, which I wasn't sure how it was gonna go when I moved over here. I did probably not as much research as I should have about just the process of being over, or not the process of being over here, but like what life was going to be like after I got over here. So food, the cost of food over here, and just there's going to be another. This is a video of a lot of. There will be more videos.
Yeah, it's an introductory video.
Yeah, we're going to talk about food, but just in general, food is actually very affordable over here. Again, it's on our incomes anyway. We don't struggle for food. You buy. I went out this morning and I bought 15 eggs. A carton of 15 eggs, and it was less than £1. Just as a baseline. Whereas I think a dozen eggs back home is $1.50, $1.75, something like that.
Gosh.
So it's 80 pence for 15 eggs, a carton of 15 eggs. It's not expensive at all. It's very affordable. Meat prices are, I feel like, a bit lower once you adjust them. And there's just a much better variety of good quality supermarkets.
Yeah, and I'd say that even the cheaper supermarkets, the quality of food is actually really good as well. Which we discovered when being very poor for a couple of months and being like, well, we're gonna have to start eating cheaper.
Yeah.
And we went to, I won't name the brand, but we went to a specific supermarket and discovered that we actually thought the food was really excellent.
And I've been making some compromises as a chef because the food's just good. But we'll talk about that stuff another time. I think we're gonna skip over the bathrooms being upstairs thing. Mm. But spoilers.
bathrooms
Almost all the
upstairs.
bathrooms are upstairs. Uh, Walking and public transport. I feel so weirdly vulnerable over here, and I don't quite it still takes me by surprise sometimes because I don't have a car, and I believe I'm past the point now where I can use my license to drive over here. I think it was 6 months that you're allowed to use your license to drive, so I couldn't drive now even if I wanted to.
No, I think it's a year.
Oh well, I mean pretty much over, even if it is a year. But I'm pretty sure I think it was 6 months. But even if it is a year, pretty much over, so I couldn't drive now if I wanted to. And I feel very as someone that had a car when they were 15 years old to go from I've had a car for literally since I was 15 years old, and now I don't. And I've always had some kind of a car, like some kind of my own motorized form of transportation, and I don't have that over here. I have to walk everywhere and take public transport, usually in the form of trams, anywhere I want to go, and I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, it is really convenient. For a lot of things, it's kind of inconvenient for other things. And I do eventually still want to get a car, just to make some aspects of things I enjoy easier.
It is definitely much cheaper though
To
not have a car.
yeah, but I think this is something I've said to you before. Is like it's cheaper to not have a car, but even having a car over here is cheaper than having a car in the U.S. By a very significant margin. Our friend Ben had until it got stolen, a fairly new model year. I think it was a Ford, some kind of Ford vehicle. Fairly only a couple of years old, 2 or 3 years old, and he was just a couple. He's a couple of years younger than us, 1 year, 2 years younger than us. Ben,
I don't know.
whatever, it doesn't matter. He's within 2 years of us, and he was paying. I think he told me he was paying like £360 a year for insurance.
To be fair, he's been driving for since he was 17. So if you got insurance now, it would cost you way more because you'd have been a new learner.
I don't know.
Yeah, it does work that way. If you've only just gotten your license in the UK, it will work as if you're a new learner, a new driver. So, like a standard new driver. So your insurance will be incredibly expensive.
I don't think it would be as expensive as...
will be. You're a young man.
No, I'm not. I'm 30.
No, but men under the age of, I think it's 40 or 50 or something, are charged through the roof anyway, comparatively to everyone else. But then you've got the additional new driver thing, which will be, I mean, it's very expensive.
I think you're wrong.
Well, wait until you see what insurance things you get.
Yeah, and then there's also the whole getting a driver's license over here is a nightmare. Once I decide I want to get a driver's license, we'll probably talk more about that. It's not really super relevant right now.
No.
But having to use public transport and walking everywhere has been really good for me in a lot of ways, though, up until, again, recently, where we haven't really been able to leave the house except for grocery shopping. But overall, I'm acclimating to it probably slower than you want me to.
Acclimating to what? Public transport?
Yeah, like I still feel weirdly off-put by it.
Well, you still freak out on buses.
I don't like buses. I hate buses.
Trams you're fine on. Trains, you're a little bit irritating because you get stir crazy in.
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, we only go on them occasionally. But yeah, no, buses freak you out.
Yeah. So, overall, I like it. It's been a great time. Again, there are those kind of weird little bits that I didn't fully anticipate. But you know, I've learned. I think I'm assimilating well into the culture.
Reasonably so.
So far, although I have exactly one British friend that's not one of her friends to start with, and every other friend I made here has been an immigrant. So take that as what you will. I hope you enjoyed this
meandering conversation.
yeah, about just some aspects of British culture that I've interacted with and uh, my thoughts on it and Britfully Established uh, counterpoints. So yeah, thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.